You know what's funny about Valentine's Day? Everyone assumes if you're alone, you're automatically miserable. Scrolling through couple photos, eating ice cream straight from the tub, wondering what went wrong. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Some people genuinely prefer spending Valentine's Day alone. And they're not sad, broken, or waiting for someone to rescue them. If you're someone who feels relief when February 14th rolls around and you have zero plans, zero pressure, zero expectations, this one's for you. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of people who spend Valentine's Day alone, and why society gets it completely wrong. Let's start with the obvious. We live in a culture that romanticizes romantic love above everything else. Movies, Instagram, commercials, they all tell the same story. If you're not in a relationship, especially on Valentine's Day, something's missing. But psychologists have a different perspective. They call it relationship status bias, the assumption that coupled people are automatically happier than single people. And guess what? Research consistently shows that's not true. Studies reveal that single people often have stronger friendships, more autonomy, and higher levels of personal growth compared to people in mediocre relationships. So when someone chooses to spend Valentine's Day alone, they're not missing out. They're prioritizing something else entirely. Themselves. Here's something fascinating. People who enjoy being alone on holidays like Valentine's Day often have what psychologists call high self-sufficiency. They don't need external validation to feel complete. Their happiness doesn't depend on someone else showing up with flowers and chocolates. This isn't about being cold or unloving. It's about having a secure sense of self. They've learned that their worth isn't tied to whether someone texts them at midnight or posts a cheesy caption about them online. And honestly, that's a level of emotional maturity a lot of people never reach now. Let's talk about the pressure. Valentine's Day isn't just a day, it's a performance. You're expected to prove your love, post about it, make reservations, buy gifts, perform happiness even if you're not feeling it. For people who value authenticity over appearances, this whole charade feels exhausting. Spending the day alone isn't about rejecting love. It's about rejecting the commercialized, Instagram-filtered version of it. They'd rather have a quiet evening with a book, a long walk, or a solo dinner than participate in something that feels forced. And there's actually a term for this: consumer resistance in romantic contexts. Some people actively reject societal scripts around romance because those scripts feel inauthentic to who they are. But here's where it gets deeper. Not everyone who spends Valentine's Day alone does it by choice. For some, it's not peace, it's pain. Loneliness wrapped in a smile. Scrolling through photos, pretending it doesn't sting. There's a big difference between solitude and loneliness. And it's important to know which one you're experiencing. Solitude is chosen. It's restorative. It fills you up. Loneliness is unchosen. It's depleting. It makes you feel invisible. If you're spending Valentine's Day alone and it feels heavy, that's worth paying attention to. Because sometimes what looks like independence is actually isolation wearing a brave face. Psychologists say that chronic loneliness affects your mental and physical health as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So if you're alone and hurting, it's not weak to reach out. It's self-awareness. But for those who genuinely thrive alone, there's something else going on. They've figured out a secret most people spend their whole lives searching for. They've learned to be their own source of joy, comfort, and celebration. Valentine's Day to them isn't about finding someone to love them. It's about loving themselves without apology. They might order their favorite takeout, watch a movie they've been meaning to see, take a long bath, or do absolutely nothing and feel perfectly content. This is what psychologists call self-compassion. The ability to treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a close friend. And it turns out, people with high self-compassion are more resilient, less anxious, and more satisfied with life overall. Here's another layer. Some people avoid Valentine's Day because they've been hurt before. Past relationships that ended badly, betrayals, heartbreaks that never fully healed. For them, Valentine's Day isn't romantic, it's triggering. It brings back memories they'd rather not revisit, so they protect themselves by opting out entirely. And that's not avoidance, that's self-preservation. Trauma-informed psychology teaches us that healing isn't linear. And sometimes the healthiest choice is to step away from situations that reopen old wounds. So if you're spending Valentine's Day alone, because being around couples feels too painful, that's valid. Your healing journey doesn't have to match anyone else's timeline. Now let's flip the script. What if being alone on Valentine's Day is actually a gift? What if it's a chance to reconnect with yourself? To remember who you are outside of relationships, outside of other people's expectations. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, solitude is rare. And for some people, Valentine's Day becomes an annual reminder that it's okay to choose yourself. They're not waiting for someone to complete them because they already feel whole. Psychologists call this differentiation, the ability to maintain your sense of self even in relationships, or in this case, outside of them. People with high differentiation don't lose themselves in relationships, and they don't lose themselves when they're single either. They know who they are, what they value, and what makes them happy, regardless of their relationship status. And honestly, that's rare. That's powerful. Here's something wild. Studies show that people who are comfortable being alone have better romantic relationships when they do choose to be in them, because they're not dating out of desperation or fear of being alone. They're dating because they genuinely want to share their life with someone. They set healthier boundaries, communicate better, and don't tolerate relationships that drain them. So if you're spending this Valentine's Day alone, maybe you're not behind. Maybe you're just preparing for something better. Let's also talk about the shame. Because even if you're perfectly happy alone, society makes you feel like you should apologize for it. People ask, "Why are you single?" Like it's a problem that needs solving, like there's something wrong with you. But the question should be, are you happy? And if the answer is yes, then nothing else matters. Psychologists call this social stigma, the negative judgment people face for not conforming to societal norms. And single people, especially on Valentine's Day, face it constantly. But here's the thing, other people's discomfort with your choices says more about them than it does about you. If your solo Valentine's Day makes someone else uncomfortable, that's their issue to work through, not yours. Now, let's get practical. How do you actually spend Valentine's Day alone in a way that feels good? First, do something intentional. Don't just scroll through your phone feeling sorry for yourself. Cook your favorite meal. Watch a movie that makes you feel something. Journal. Go for a walk. Create something. Treat the day like it matters, not because of romance, but because you matter. Second, reach out to friends. Valentine's Day doesn't have to be about romantic love. Celebrate the people who are already in your life. Send a text to someone you appreciate. Have a video call. Make plans for a Valentines or Valentine's Day. Third, practice gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for about your life right now, exactly as it is. Gratitude rewires your brain to focus on what you have, not what you lack. And finally, give yourself permission to feel however you feel. If you're happy, own it. If you're sad, acknowledge it. If you're somewhere in between, that's okay too. Your feelings are valid, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for them. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. You can be surrounded by people and feel lonely. Or you can be completely alone and feel at peace. It's not about whether you have someone on Valentine's Day. It's about whether you have yourself. Because the relationship you have with yourself is the longest relationship you'll ever have. And if that relationship isn't solid, No amount of roses or chocolates will fill the gap. So if you're spending Valentine's Day alone, maybe it's not a void. Maybe it's a foundation. Maybe it's the universe giving you space to build something stronger. Starting with you. Psychologists say that people who master the art of being alone become better partners, better friends, and better versions of themselves. Because they're not afraid of their own company. They've learned to sit with themselves without running away. And that's a skill most people never develop. So to everyone spending Valentine's Day alone, you're not broken. You're not behind. You're not less than. You're just living differently. And that's not only okay, it might be exactly what you need. Tell me in the comments, are you spending Valentine's Day alone? And if so, how do you actually feel about it? No judgment, just curiosity. Because I think we need more honest conversations about this. And if this video resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Because we're diving into the psychology that most people are too afraid to talk about. The next video is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about relationships. Click it, you won't regret it.